Ethan Cross had everything the world told him he should want. He owned a private jet, his face had once been on the cover of Forbes, and his tech company was worth more than most small countries. But behind the tailored suits and boardroom brilliance was a man who, at night, read bedtime stories to his 6-year-old twins and stared into the ceiling wondering if he'd ever be loved for who he truly was. It had been 3 years since his wife passed away in a car accident, leaving him shattered and suddenly a single father. Since then, Ethan's life had been a perfect storm of business success and emotional solitude. The world saw a billionaire genius. But his twins, Emma and Eli, they just saw Dad. And to Ethan, their unconditional love was the only thing in his life that felt real. So when his assistant mentioned a low-key blind date app that matched single parents based on values, not wealth or appearance, he hesitated, then signed up. He created a profile that was honest, except for one small thing: he didn't mention who he was. No business titles, no expensive lifestyle, just a single dad, trying his best. He matched with Lila. Her profile was simple: a nurse, also raised by a single mother. Her interests included baking, reading classic novels, and volunteering at a children's hospital. She had no kids of her own, but loved them. Ethan was intrigued. No red lipstick selfies, no fake filters, just a warm, thoughtful face and a short bio that ended with, "Looking for something real." "Tired of games?" he messaged her. She replied. They talked. For days, weeks. It was easy, unforced. He laughed more in their chats than he had in years. She liked how goofy he was with the twins. And she didn't once ask what he did for a living. Now, as he looked into the mirror that morning, Ethan dressed deliberately. Old jeans, a slightly oversized hoodie, and sneakers that were at least 5 years old. He even took off his Rolex and slid it into his drawer, replacing it with a basic rubber strap watch. If she could love the man in this outfit, maybe, just maybe, she could love the man beneath all the wealth too. "Are we going to meet the lady today?" asked Emma, twirling with her backpack. Eli, clutching a small dinosaur toy, chimed in, "Will she have snacks?" Ethan laughed. "Let's find out." They drove in his old Jeep, the one he used before the success hit, down to a quiet little cafe tucked between a bookstore and a laundromat. The kind of place no billionaire would be caught dead in. That's what made it perfect. He picked a small table outside. The twins settled in with their crayons and sketchpads while Ethan ordered a black coffee and 2 waters. He felt a strange twist in his stomach, like the nervous flutter of a teenager on his first date. 10 minutes later, she arrived. Lila. She was wearing a soft yellow dress with a denim jacket, her dark curls pulled into a messy bun. She walked with purpose but not pride, and when she saw him, really saw him, hoodie, twins, and all, she didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled. A smile that wasn't fake or forced, but the kind that settled things inside a man's chest. "You must be Ethan," she said kindly, stepping forward. Ethan stood, trying to act casual. "And you must be Lila." "Hi, guys." She waved at the twins. Emma shyly waved back, while Eli just stared at her curiously. "Do you like dinosaurs?" he asked suddenly. She bent down to his level. "I love dinosaurs. Stegosaurus is my favorite." Ethan watched in stunned silence as she immediately connected with his children, as if they were part of her world, not just accessories to tolerate. They sat, and the conversation unfolded naturally. She asked about their favorite animals, their hobbies, and even complimented their crayon drawings. With him, she was lighthearted, sincere. When he joked about being a low-budget dad, she laughed, not pitifully, but in a way that made him feel understood. Not once did she ask where he lived, what car he drove, or what his job was. Instead, she asked, "What's the best thing that happened to you this week?" He blinked. "No one's ever asked me that," he said honestly. She smiled. "Well, what was it?" He looked at his twins. Then at her. "Probably this moment," he said. And he meant it. Days turned into weeks, and what started as a blind date in a small cafe began to blossom into something deeper. Ethan, still in disguise as an average single dad, found himself drawn to Lila in a way that scared him, in a good way. She never treated him like a man with problems or someone broken. She treated him like a man who mattered. And that was something money couldn't buy. They met in parks most often. Simple places where the twins could run, climb, and laugh freely. Ethan would sit beside Lila on a bench, sipping cheap coffee, watching his children play, and wondering how this woman, this kind, grounded, beautiful woman, had entered his life so gently and begun filling the spaces he thought were permanently empty. One Sunday afternoon, they were at a community library. It was raining lightly outside, and the smell of old books and warm cocoa lingered in the air. Eli and Emma sat cross-legged on the carpeted floor, flipping through picture books while Lila read softly to them. Ethan sat nearby, just watching her. She read with animation, with heart. The twins laughed at her voices and sound effects. It was so natural, so real. After the reading, Lila pulled out a small wrapped box from her tote bag. "What's that?" Ethan asked with a raised brow. She smiled, a little sheepish. "I noticed Emma's shoe was peeling at the sole last week. I know you said you've been between jobs, and I didn't want to overstep, but..." She handed the small box to Emma. Inside was a pair of gently used pink sneakers, cleaned and carefully laced. "They were my niece's. She only wore them twice before she outgrew them," Lila explained. Ethan felt something twist in his chest. Not embarrassment. Something more powerful. Guilt. Gratefulness. Humility. He cleared his throat, forcing a smile as Emma squealed and hugged Lila without hesitation. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly once the twins wandered off again. "I know," she said. "But I wanted to." He looked at her. Really looked. And saw a woman who gave without expectation. She didn't pity him. She cared. And in her world, caring meant doing something about it. Later that night, after he tucked the kids into bed, Ethan sat in his study with the lights off. The shadows crept around him as he stared at a photo of his late wife on the bookshelf. "Am I doing the right thing?" he whispered into the dark. He had built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but this pretending to be poor so he could find love.